As many of you know, Bianca is a graduate of Santa Clara. Notice we're mentioning her first. And she majored in marketing and retail. And Patrick is a graduate of Holy Names, and he majored in marketing and sports management. Bianca and Patrick are co-founders of Bandits, which manufactures toppers. And if you don't know what those are, you're about to find out. And for every 3 that are purchased, 1 is donated to a local homeless shelter. If you have had a chance to, I wanted to mention that they have just signed Holy Names University, I'll call it a contract, I assume it's a contract, to do business with us, and particularly with returning students who, or new students, as they come to their dorm room and, put their palm on the bed, they think of toppers. And Dominican University. If you've had a chance to visit their website or YouTube video, I hope you saw what I saw, and for those who haven't, you're going to see those tonight. I saw 2 well-educated professionals eloquently and gracefully blending the written word and the visual image to beckon us towards bed bandits and their products, which are contributing directly to the common good and social justice. You know our format, it's very straightforward. 2 questions. Will you tell us your entrepreneurial story? So far, no one has said no. Don't make it tonight. And then, so that's a narrative question. But then the other is a synthetic question. What do you think the principles of entrepreneurship are? You are just starting out, and you may know a certain number of principles, and you may be discovering other principles, like what it is to take a risk, what it is to find yourself challenged by something you never thought about, and at the first glance it seems huge, and you have to find a way to solve that. So we'll ask those 2 questions. I may ask a follow-up question, but as soon as we can, in 40 minutes or so, we'll try to get to the audience, and we'll bring the lights up, and we'll have a microphone for you to ask your questions. And looking forward to this evening, and again, pleased that Patrick and Bianca could join us, and we'll turn it over to them. Will you tell us your entrepreneurial story?
Okay, we wanted to start out by showing you the video that we released when we first launched our website, and this is kind of what we shared on all our social media forums to get people interested and wonder kind of what we were doing and what it was about. It's called A Good Night's Sleep. We will get more into that a little bit later, but that was kind of what got people curious about what we were doing, and that was kind of the point we wanted people to know of our social justice. We want everyone to get a good night's sleep, and so we wanted people to see that and be curious about it and wonder what we were doing. But first, how we got to this point, our story. This was originally a project I started actually when I was in school here in my marketing class. And Costin's class, we were tasked with creating a product and working on how we'd bring it to the market and everything like that. And when I first was a student here, my father has been in the mattress industry for 40 years, and I have been around this my whole life, beds. And so when I first got here, the first thing I noticed were the mattresses, and they're built to last, but not to be extremely comfortable. And my first year, my father said, you got to suck it up and sleep on it. And it was not the most enjoyable thing. and I saw everyone putting toppers on their beds that they had gotten from Walmart, Target, and other places, but they were all not high quality and very flimsy, and they broke down and they all fell off their beds. And so in the marketing class, I wanted to design a topper that could be secured to your mattress and not fall off. That was my original goal. And I worked with 3 other students, and for 2 years we worked on that in his class and our marketing class, and then we took it on to our marketing research class as we were all in that class together, and we asked if we could continue to work with the same product. And then that summer I worked for my dad, and we brought it to conception and created the product, and he started selling it online on his website, and that's kind of where I left it. I then graduated and was working in the corporate world for Sugar Foods Corporation, a great company, a privately held company, and I was working with their line, the Better Chip, a tortilla chip company, and I was their territory manager for Northern California. And by the time I was leaving, I was covering the majority of the Pacific Northwest. And that's kind of where, then I ended up leaving my job and coming into this, and Bianca's going to tell her side of the story now.
So my story starts, I went to Santa Clara University and I majored in marketing and minored in retail studies. And the entire 4 years I was there, I worked at Nordstrom, and anyone knows who, when you work while you're going to school, it's really not easy, but I was doing it because I was convinced I was going to go into retail and I needed that experience, and I did internships during the summer and all of that, and I knew retail was where I wanted to be. So I graduated and I was one of the first of my friends to get a job, and I was working for the Gap over in the city, and I was one of the youngest ones in my department, so I thought I was set, and I started learning the financial part of retail, and I was a planner there and managing a $1 million business, and it was going great, and I was having a lot of fun and learning a lot, but a friend of mine passed away May of 2013, and when she passed from cancer, it made me think, like, life is so short, and you know, I'm going to work every day doing what I'm supposed to be, but am I really getting everything I should be out of life? Because, you know, she was my age, and when she was battling cancer, she was living life to the fullest during that entire time, and I was so inspired by that. And then whenever I would get stressed out at work, people would say, "Oh, don't worry, Bianca, you're not saving babies." And that actually really bothered me, because yeah, I'm sitting here doing financial work for a huge corporation. And you know, my father was a firefighter for 30 years, and he literally did save babies. He was running into buildings and changing lives and making a difference. And so I was really caught in this strange part of my life where I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I knew there was something more. And I went to visit my sister at Loyola Marymount University down in LA, and I stayed with her in her dorm. We shared the little dorm bed, and she had my old mattress topper, and it kept slipping off the bed, and it was too hot, and it was really uncomfortable, and I was just like, what is going on here? So on the airplane ride back to Oakland, I was reading this book called Start Something That Matters, and it's written by the guy who started the shoe company Tom's, Blake, and he really talked about starting a business where you can give back and how it's possible, and gave really good examples of people who have already done it. And so it was super inspiring, and I couldn't figure out, though, what could I create. I'm not super creative. Patrick is the creative one of us too. And so then I remembered this mattress topper that he came up with when he was in college. So I got off the airplane really excited. I went home, and I knew my parents would be the most skeptical out of everyone, so I went and ran it by them, and they actually were pretty excited about it too. So I felt safe going home and telling him, because I knew the second I would tell him, he'd run with it. So that's what happened. I got home and we talked about it, and it sounded right. And within 4 months, I left my job. So that's what we did. Let's see. And then kind of how we started the business. Do you want to start with that?
when she came back with that and said she wanted to do this, of course, I didn't skip a beat and said, yeah, let's do it, and try to figure out how we could. So I got on the phone with my dad and started discussing, the toppers he had and what we could do, going back and looking at some of the research I did when it was a project and looking at how we could separate it from everything else in the industry and what could make it different. And there's no law right now requiring anything under 4 inches to be fire resistant, to be fire retardant. And all mattresses have to, by law, be fire resistant. And I find that really interesting that, toppers that people are putting on their beds don't have to be. And a lot of the stuff that people use for those toppers are extremely flammable and off-gassing and a lot of things like that. And so it's not a safe item. And my dad uses only latex, which comes directly from the rubber tree. And there's no off-gassing from it. But that by itself is extremely flammable because it's rubber. And so we had to have a barrier. And so we looked at different materials that we could use to cover it, to make it fire resistant. And we looked at a number of things, and we had thought we had one that was really good, and we put it through some tests and it didn't hold up to our standards. And so we looked at some other materials, and really we found the material that has been working for us. And even actually now, the stuff that we originally launched with, we might be changing because we found a better deal, and it's a thicker material and it's more durable, so we like it more, and we might continue to shift. But that's kind of what this is all about. When we're in charge of it doing that, it's changing, always changing. And that's been really exciting. But then after that, once we kind of found the materials we were going to use, we knew we had to have a website, otherwise how were we going to get it to people? And my dad created his own website, and it's been online since '98, and 90% of his business is done online. So I knew that's where a big market is. And he had done it all himself, but I thought that would take a whole lot of time for me to learn how to code and create a website. So we went with Shopify, which is hosting our website, and they allowed for us to kind of customize it and build it, and it's worked out really well for us. For about 2 months, I'd say it wasn't available to anyone to reach unless they had a password, so we were putting it through tests and wanted to get feedback from people to see what they thought of how it looked and things like that. And then we also needed a logo, and we actually, Bed Bandits, the name, we chose that. In college, the project name I had gone with was College Companion. I thought it was good, but it was a little kitschy. And we didn't want to pigeonhole us to one market so easily, even though that is our target audience, is the college students. So we went with Bed Bandits. Bianca actually came up with it, and it's a play on words in the sense of bandit, because it has the bands that secure it to the mattress. And then also, we like to think of it as the modern day Robin Hood, where for every 3 we sell, we're donating 1. And that's, we're not taking from people that can afford it, but people are making that conscious decision to purchase it and then help us give back to other people. So that's where we went with the Bandit, so Bed Bandits. But then we used a site called 99 Designs, which allows you to interact with a number of artists and designers. And we posted on there what we were looking for and what we were going to pay for it. And then they got to choose if they wanted to create a design for us. And we ended up having close to 30 artists submit designs, and we had given them kind of a script of what we were looking for and continually saying, hey, we like what you have here, but can you make this change? And we worked with that. We had 10 days where we worked with them, and at the end, that's where we got our logo.
And then from there, we did surveys as well. That's something that's really important to me, doing the research part. And you can have the best idea in the world, or at least you'll think so, until you talk to other people and really see what they think. And so we did a survey, gave it to my sisters, who are a few years younger than me, so our target market, and a few of their friends, and then they sent it out to even more friends. And at the end of the day, I think we had about 100 surveys that went out, and this was in the very early stages, and we had great results. We asked about pricing, we asked if they like the donation aspect, do they like Made in USA, and so that was really exciting to see, and was a small validation that we were going in the right direction. And then we worked with schools. We started calling schools and seeing if we could get in to their housing packets, but we were kind of a little behind. just based on the way things were working out. So we ended up going to orientations. We went to Santa Clara University's orientation, Holy Names, Dominican University, and then, did I say Loyola Marymount as well? That was really great to talk to parents, to sell toppers there, and people were really excited about what we had to offer. And then from there, we both left our jobs and we went up to Fort Bragg and started working for his father at his bedding company, because it allowed us to start to get to know the bedding industry, and allowed us to work on our business in the evening. And he gave us really flexible hours so we could take off time to go to the orientations, because in the positions we were working in previously here, there was no time for that. So that was a huge risk we took, but it has worked out so far.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it's a nice segue because you've mentioned risk twice. And I wondered if you would each talk about how your own feelings about risk, and whether you come to it naturally or is it you've learned it. And then we'll go into the second half. So,
You want to go first?
you want to go first?
Risk? Okay, I'll go first. I am not a huge risk taker. I'm the student that studies really hard, never leaves anything up to chance. I'm the straight-laced one of the family, but like I said, I was doing everything right as far as work went, and at the end of the day, if you don't take risks, you're not living, and that's what I was doing. I was doing everything right, but I didn't feel like I was really living my life, and once I did take that big risk, it was scary, and there are times that I still look back and I think, what was I doing? And I went and spoke to about 70 high school students up in Fort Bragg and told them my story, and then I got a bunch of thank you letters later, and all of them said, I can't believe you left your job, I can't believe you took that risk. But when you believe in something and you're passionate about it enough, if you have that drive, I am the kind of person, give me a challenge and I will get it done. And that's why I knew taking this risk was going to be okay, because I will do what it takes to get it done.
Yeah, I think I'm more of the risk taker in the sense that it didn't take a whole lot of convincing for me to want to be in. But I will say she did quit her job first, so she did beat me in that route. And there was no going back once she did it. I knew we were doing this. And I've learned from my dad that you can't be afraid to fail, and you need to, put yourself out there with something that you believe in. And it's how, he supported my whole family, and there's 4 of us kids, and he put us all through college with his family business. And when we first went to him and said we were going to leave our jobs, he too said, you're crazy. But when we did it, he was supportive and said, okay, if you're going to do this, we'll help you with things you need, and you can come up here so you can be close to it and help us. But he at first thought, you guys are leaving good things when you could maybe do it at the same time. But we had just seen in the time when we tried to do it at the same time, it was too challenging to really give everything we had to it when we didn't have the time to do it, and we were missing opportunities left and right because our day jobs were too demanding. And so we wanted to give it the full attention it deserved.
Well, let's consider that one of the principles or one of the things you would counsel to budding entrepreneurs that you should be prepared for and anticipate. What other principles or guiding key ideas would you share with us in your own experience?
We did come up with a few. First, I forgot to go through the slides. We have a few photos. So this was from Dominican University. And then we also went to Holy Names.
And that's my old roommate who helped me out, and he was actually my roommate when I came up with the idea. So he'd been around it for quite some time.
And so that's our mattress topper, the channeled looking thing. That's our mattress topper with the bands that go underneath the bed. And then that's us at Santa Clara. And then I recruited a bunch of friends and my dad when we went to Loyola Marymount.
It was the same day that we were at Holy Names, so we'd already double booked.
Okay, so we came up with about 6 rules. The first one is to utilize your resources. So we have a lot of examples for this. First one that comes to mind is working with his father and his brother. So his brother is the right-hand man at the mattress company that his father owns, and so we worked really closely with them and really relied on their expertise when we were making our products, and they were more than willing to help us because they saw how dedicated we were, and that's something that I would really recommend to everyone. Look at going into this, we knew that we had those resources, and so that's why I feel like we were taking a huge risk, but it was a calculated risk because we knew we had that kind of support. And then we worked with one of his co-workers at the time. She was head of marketing, and she gave us all this great information about creating a marketing strategy and doing our survey, and she took a look at our logos, and just having that kind of expertise that people pay a lot of money for, but she was in our network and we were able to use that, and she was excited to help us, and she had the nonprofit experience and all of that. So it's really important to see who you have in your circle and use them, because a lot of the times when they feel your passion, they are going to be excited to help you. I brought my sisters up to Fort Bragg for a weekend, and we spent the entire weekend cutting fabric to get ready for meeting a deadline for sewing. So we use them, we utilize them in that way. And then one of my sisters, her boyfriend is a marketing major, or a film major at Loyola Marymount, and he does absolutely amazing work, and a lot of it's skiing footage right now. But we recognize his talent, and that first video that you guys saw, he put that together in one day. We weren't even prepared to do it, but we told him, look, we need a video, so let's go shoot this. And and he was more than excited to help us. So we couldn't have done all this work without everybody else's help. Like we said, we were working 2 jobs already, and it's not, you can't do everything, and other people bring things to the table. You can't have complete control over everything. You want to utilize what other people are good at. So, yeah.
The next is follow through. Early on, when she spoke a little bit about the deadline we had to meet for production, and this was kind of our first run. And so we had the idea, and we've done, samples and small ones, 1 or 2 here and there, but we didn't have it down to where we could really crank this out. And so really, at the start, I think our first one, filling it with the shredded latex that we were using, it took me an hour. And that was, our goal was 40 to get to, and it took me an hour to do one, and we had, what, 4 days? Yeah. So you do the math, it wasn't gonna happen. And yeah, with the day job. And so we had to figure out how to get around that and how we could speed everything up, and it took a lot of time, but we knew we had to meet the deadline. We had to follow through, otherwise we were starting off already on the wrong foot, and that wasn't going to reflect well on us, and down the line it wasn't either. And in that same week, we also have sheets that we sell, and our order hadn't come in yet, and we were leaving to go to Dominican for moving day, and we'd already sold some online to students there, so they had already bought the sheets and they were expecting to pick them up, and we didn't have them yet because they hadn't arrived to us. And we called, and they were supposed to be there on Monday, and it's already Wednesday, and we didn't have them. So we called the trucking company and said, just leave it in your warehouse. We'll pick them up on our way down from the warehouse and take them and go on. So we had to leave at like 4 in the morning just so we could go get everything and get it out of there and continue on. But it was important to us to follow through and not leave our customers and the people we were working with hanging, because they knew that we could follow through and deliver. We started off on the right foot, so that's a big one to us. The next is be healthy. That week, we were a total mess because there had been so much going on, and it really, our focus was lacking, and we weren't able to really, because we were so tired, our focus was lacking because of it, because we were so worn out, and we were probably doing 20-hour days, and our energy was just so low that everything else suffered. The way in which we moved to do things was just slower, and everything we had to get done, it wasn't being efficient. So then we decided that we have to have a cutoff point where we say, okay, that's it for today, and we'll pick it up tomorrow, but we'll have more focus because we did set it down and we're able to come back to it. And doing that was also healthy for us because it wasn't around the clock working on it, and we were able to actually relax for a little bit, and it was a lot better for us. And so we definitely recommend, creating a schedule and giving yourself a cutoff time of when you're going to set it down for the night or the day and move on and do everything else that your life is about too. And so that has allowed us to really be more effective when we do pick it up.
And then the next one, uphold your ethical standards. So when I was at Santa Clara, one of my favorite professors said to the class, at some point in business, you are going to be asked to compromise your ethics. And you have to have the courage to say no. And when we first started this business, I wanted to give back. That's what I was excited about. That's why I wanted to do this. And I had gotten, and Patrick as well. But a lot of our business advisors were saying, are you sure you want to give away your profit? You know, there are other ways to help the world. You don't have to give away part of your money, those kinds of things. But this is why we started this business. And eventually when we have employees, those are the kind of people I want to attract, are people who want to give back. And in the long run, this is why we're doing it. And so it took a lot of courage for us to say, you know, to people who have a lot of experience and know what they're talking about, but to say, you know, this is going to work and this is why, and you're going to have to